What is up everyone, it's Saber here and welcome to another Naruto What If. If you end up liking the video, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can take it back at any time and it really helps me out, and this is my third channel, so if you want some more what ifs, go check out my other channels. And with all of the YouTube formalities out of the way, let's get into it. As the sunlight peeking through the curtains fell on her face, Eri stirred awake. She let out a big yawn and her entire body shuddered as she stretched her arms above her head, but instead of opening her eyes she curled up like a small animal and rubbed her face against the pillow while hugging the airy blanket to her chest. Although fully rested, it was so cozy that she didn't want to come out of bed. Little Eri couldn't remember the last time she had had such a restful sleep in such a comfortable bed, but that last thought made alarm bells ring in her head and she abruptly sat up and looked around, scared, not recognizing her surroundings. Immediately a feeling of panic washed over her heart drumming in her chest. Eri jumped off the bed and ran towards the door, her first instinct being to escape from whatever place she was in, but on the way to the bedroom's door her eyes inadvertently fell on the tall mirror of a wardrobe's door. The reflection she saw in the mirror made her stop in her tracks. Her long white hair was washed clean and braided in two tails, and instead of the dirty and stained dress she used to wear, she was dressed in what appeared to be a clean but oversized white cotton t-shirt. Furthermore, bandages no longer covered her wrists and legs. It was upon seeing her new appearance that she finally recalled the events of the previous day. "Eri-chan, you're awake," she heard an oddly comforting and familiar voice. As the door of the bedroom opened, it was a blonde-haired boy with fox ears and three tails. At the sight of Naruto, Eri rushed at him with an expression so bright that he felt his heart melting. He grinned as he knelt to be on her level and took her in his arms. "Did you sleep well? Are you hungry?" Naruto said after breaking the short hug. Eri looked down shyly as she muttered a quiet yes. "Oh my, who is this?" A woman's voice was heard, and when Eri looked up, Kushina's beautiful and kind smile immediately relaxed her. But when she saw Eri's mismatched braids and the loose strands of hair poking out everywhere, she put her hands on her waist as she turned to Naruto. "You told me that you braided her hair yesterday, but my god, what is that?" "It was the best I could do, okay? It's my first time braiding someone's hair," Naruto said defensively. No, this won't do, and we can't be making such a pretty and adorable girl wear your clothes." A moment longer, crouching to little Eri's level, she said, "Don't worry, Eri-chan, from now on we will take good care of you. You won't send me away." When the little girl hesitantly asked that question, Kushina's heart went out to her. "We won't. From now on you will be part of our family too. Nobody will hurt you anymore. Come here," she said, and took the little girl in her arms, embracing her tightly to her bosom. "You won't have to worry about the cold or food. We will buy you pretty dresses, and you won't be alone anymore. You will be my cute and adorable little daughter." Kushina's motherly words tugged at Eri's heartstrings, and she teared up. "You've been such a brave girl until now. You must have suffered a lot, so it's okay, you can cry, let it all out," Kushina said as she caressed the back of her head gently, all the while tightening her embrace. "I am here for you. We are all here for you. From now on we are your family." The suffering and pain she had experienced until then, all her bottled up fears and emotions, burst like a dam, and Eri could not stop crying for a long time. Naruto left the bedroom and let his mother and Eri bond with each other alone. "I haven't seen Kushina this excited in a very long time," Minato said, grinning like a fool as he watched his wife treat the little girl like a dress-up doll. "Eri-chan seems to enjoy it too," Naruto also said, his smile at that moment making him look very similar to his father. Although the little girl still wasn't smiling, her red cheeks and her wide eyes betrayed her excitement. Pink, yellow, and blue frilly summer dresses, cute t-shirts with chibi imprints of various female heroes such as the rabbit hero Mirko or the dragon hero Ryoku on them, several pairs of sandals, sneakers with light-up LED on their soles, and even three different types of hats: a yellow straw hat with a red bow, a white cap with a pair of black cat ears, and a pink beret ornate with flowers. Eri had never worn clothes as beautiful as that. "Is this really all for me? Really?" the little girl asked as if she could not believe her eyes. "I don't know, maybe Naruto would like a few of these too," Kushina said, and she put the pink beret onto Naruto's head, flattening his fox ears in the process. "Mom, we're in public," Naruto said, exasperated, but a sudden white flash made him freeze just as he was about to take the pink hat off. "Tell me you didn't just take a pic of me?" Minato's answer was to quickly put his smartphone in his pocket before snickering like a hyena when he also saw how his parents high-fived each other. Naruto could only let himself fall on the cushioned bench next to the changing room and bury his face in his palms. However, at that moment a cute tinkling sound made him abruptly raise his head up. The downcast and shy little girl, who always seemed afraid to even look others in the eyes, was now laughing. That sight was so precious that Naruto suddenly felt that maybe wearing that pink and flowery hat wasn't that unbearable anymore. "What made you change your mind about Eri?" Naruto asked his father while they carried the mountain of bags of clothes to their car, shutting close the door of the Trunk Minato turned and leaned against the car as he watched Kushina lifting Eri up for her to see all the flavors of ice cream that she could choose. I was never against taking her, and Minato said, I just said it's not a choice that can or should be made on the spot. This is a life-changing decision not only for Eri but for us as a family too. I still think we've made our decision too quickly, but it couldn't be helped. Eri's situation was too difficult for us to take our time. I promise you won't regret it. I'll take care of Eri properly, and once I'm of age I'll adopt her. I won't burden you for Naruto began to say, but his father interrupted him before he could finish his words. Your intentions are admirable, but having a child at your age, albeit an adopted one, will hinder your future prospects much more than you realize now. Minato said kindly, I'll never consider Eri a burden, Naruto said strongly, but Minato brought his hand on top of his head and ruffled his hair endearingly as he said, raising a child is no easy task even for grown-ups, much less a teenager. You're still a child yourself. You have the whole life ahead of you. Be patient. In time you will get your own children too, assuming you're not gay, of course, Minato said and sniggered at the last bit. Oh, stop it, Naruto said in chagrin. It looked like his father wasn't going to let go of the amusing misunderstanding from yesterday anytime soon. Naruto and I-san, ah shoot, Naruto cussed and stopped in his tracks. He had tried to leave the bedroom quietly so as to not wake Eri up, but he failed. She's gotta have a sixth sense or something. I'm sure I was perfectly quiet, he said to himself. Are you leaving? The little girl asked as she got up from bed and grabbed him by the sleeve of his pants with one hand while holding a fox plushie in the other one. I'm going to school, but I'll be back in a few hours. You have nothing to worry about, he said and patted her once on the head before attempting to leave, but Eri still wasn't letting go of his pants. Although 3 days had already passed since the Uzumaki family had taken Eri, and the little girl was just as clingy and dependent on him as on the first day. She seemed to be glued to his side no matter where he went. After the sports festival, all the students of UA High were given 3 days off to heal and rest, so Naruto didn't have to go to school. However, school was starting again today. He couldn't stay home with Eri anymore, much to his relief. Although the little girl's eyes reddened, it looked like she was doing her best not to start crying. If you feel lonely while I'm away, you can always go to mom. She'd be more than happy to spend time with you. You also have Q-san with you, know, he said with a smile as Eri hugged the fox plushie at the mention of its name. Oh, what's with that? He didn't even participate in the sports festival. After what he did at USJ, it's no surprise if you ask me. I wonder how many of those were from foreigners. Todoroki is at the top too as expected. Well, he's won the first place in the tournament, and he's also Endeavor's son. The entire class broke into loud discussions the moment that Professor Aizawa revealed the number of internship offers that each student had received. Uzumaki Naruto was firmly at the top with over 5,000 internship offers. It had to be said that Japan had around 4,000 registered hero agencies. Hundreds of hero agencies from across the sea, or even from across that ocean, had extended an invitation for him to join their ranks. Todoroki Shoto was also extremely popular with the pro heroes too, seeing as he had received an internship offer from pretty much all the agencies in the country. Over 4,000. The next in line were Tokoyami, Ida, Yaoyorozu, Kurashima, etc. But there was one thing that stood out like a sore thumb, and Naruto couldn't contain his curiosity, so he turned towards Ashido Mina to ask, hey, how come Bakugo is not on the list? Regardless of his dislike for the irascible and aggressive boy, Naruto did not belittle how strong his quirk was and the talent he possessed for fighting. Realistically, Bakugo should have been somewhere in the top 5 at the very least. Oh, you haven't heard of it? Bakugo was expelled. No freaking way, Naruto said. I'm serious, you can ask anyone. Hey, Kurashima, tell him I'm right, Mina said with a pout and crossed her arms. She's not lying, the red-haired boy confirmed. How? Like, why was he expelled? What did he do? Do you remember the guy from General Studies that mind-controlled someone during the Bo Tauscher game? Kurashima asked. I wasn't in the stadium at that time. What? But we saw your face on all the screens in the stadium. You were together with the rabbit hero Mirko. It's a long story, but I only caught the beginning of the sports festival. Something happened and I had to leave, Naruto said, not going into detail. Anyway, what about Bakugo? Well, the third task of the sports festival was an elimination style fighting tournament, and Bakugo ended up facing the guy from General Studies that I was telling you about. He has a quirk called brainwashing, a really tricky thing to go against. Bakugo lost the match without even throwing a punch. Shinso mind-controlled him to go out of bounds, so he got disqualified. Yara, Naruto said and let out a sigh, already knowing where the story was heading. Kurashima said Bakugo didn't accept it. He jumped right back in to blow him up into pieces, but Professor Midnight put him to sleep with her quirk. Then why was he expelled? Naruto asked in confusion. Bakugo couldn't let it go, Mina answered him. This time he followed Shinso on his way home after the sports festival was done and beat him badly. Shinso is now in hospital with second-degree burns all over his body. Naruto would have liked to say that he was surprised to hear Bakugo would go that far, but he wasn't. The boy had some severe anger management issues and he was a walking TNT dispenser. It's a miracle this guy hasn't killed anyone yet. Their conversation was cut short when Aizawa began to speak again, keeping these results in mind regardless of whether you have received any internship offers or not. Every single one of you will participate in an internship with the pros. There are over 40 hero agencies that are in partnership with UA specifically for such cases, but that is the case for you. You've all managed to catch the pro heroes' attention at the sports festival while the students were cheering at being acknowledged. Aizawa poured ice-cold water over their heads with his next words, but don't let it get to your head. Receiving an internship offer doesn't mean you're all set for the following 3 years. You will hold a temporary position in the hero agencies where you'll be interning. Depending on your performance, you could very well be rejected at the end of high school. Everything depends on your efforts and how serious you are about becoming a pro hero. You have already seen a part of what being a pro hero truly is like. It's not all glamour, riches, and fame. You will be putting your life on the line when facing villains. Not a year passes without several pro heroes dying in the line of duty. I suggest you take advantage of this period of time that you'll be spending at hero agencies and amass as much knowledge and experience as possible. Being a pro hero isn't a child's game. Completely uncaring of the somber mood that took over the classroom, Aizawa continued. Lastly, it's time for you to make a final decision about your code names. That is the case especially for those of you who couldn't think of something good a few weeks ago. As he said those words, Professor Midnight also stepped into the classroom clad in her erotic skin-tight costume like usual. Not for the first time, Naruto wondered how the hell was she allowed to dress like that when teaching at a school filled with hormonal teenage boys. As I'm not good at this, I'll leave it to Professor Midnight like the last time, but keep in mind that when you give yourself a name you get a more concrete image of what you want to be like in the future, and you can get closer to it. This is what it means when they say names and natures do often agree, like All Might for example. While various students started coming up in front of the class to tell everyone their hero names, Mina was ruffling her shaggy pink hair with her hands. What should I do? I can't think of anything good. Your choice a few weeks ago was Alien Queen or something. No, I thought it was cool. It suits you, Naruto, said the girl's pink cheeks turn a shade darker and she grinned at him. Why you think so? In the meantime, Yuga Aoyama came in front of the class and showed off his hero name. I cannot stop twinkling. Quite a few students snickered at this choice, but their snickers turned into gasps when Midnight actually gave him the green light. She deadass rejected your cool hero name, but she was okay with that, Naruto said, and Kirishima and Kaminari snorted with laughter at his disbelief. Time passed and eventually Naruto also came in front of the class to show off his hero name. Uzumaki-san, you've had nearly a month to find a new hero name, Midnight said in disappointment when she saw that Naruto's hero name was still unchanged. Kurama, being a hero is more than just about saving people and fighting villains. You also need to manage your popularity because your income is deeply influenced by it. A large part of the pro hero's revenue comes from sponsors, endorsements, donations, and shooting ads, or promoting various brands. Kurama doesn't say anything about you. It's not catchy. It's not special, it's just bland. You've already gotten the looks, the personality, and the skills down. All you need is a hero name with more personality. I chose this name in honor of someone who had saved my life more than once. He is one of the people I respect the most. I won't change it, Naruto said categorically, and lacking popularity is the least of my concerns at the moment. He's not wrong, but hearing him bragging with a straight face like that kinda pisses me off, Kaminari said half seriously. Half jokingly, in the end, Midnight couldn't change his mind and Naruto returned to his desk. Wow, you really stood up for yourself, Mina-chan, Uraraka said, gushing with excitement. Why were you so dead set on choosing that hero name? I just think it's a really cool hero name. I mean, come on, it's Alien Queen. What's not to like about it? Mina said, but after weeks of being classmates and friends, Uraraka could tell that she was flustered. It totally had nothing to do with how Naruto said he likes it, right? Kyoka piped in teasingly and then burst into laughter when she saw Mina's pink face flushing a deep red color. Uraraka squealed as she took Mina's hands into hers. Girl, you have it so bad. Although she was embarrassed, Mina didn't try to refute it anymore. Alright, that's it, the pink-skinned girl said with vigor, and her chair made a screeching sound as she abruptly stood up from her seat. Still keeping her vigor, she stomped towards Naruto, who was chatting at the other side of the classroom with Ojiro and Kirishima about working out routines. Uzumaki-san, can I have a word with you in private? I'm sure, he said, and walked after the girl, who left the classroom in such a hurry that it looked like she was running. By the time Mina finally stopped, the two of them found themselves in the courtyard of the school behind the library building. It took me a lot of courage to do this, but I have to say it, Mina began to say, while wrenching her fingers. Would you like to go out with me after school? Due to his fox quirk, Naruto had always been able to feel the rough emotional state of a person based on their smell. He had known for a while that Mina Ishido had a crush on him, but he had not expected the girl to actually make the first step and ask him out. I'm sorry, Ishido-san, I feeling that it would be cruel to just tell her that he didn't feel anything for her, he said. I like someone else already. It was a lie. He didn't like anyone in particular at that moment. Until then he had been too preoccupied with other far more important things. Girls had been the last thing on his mind. Training Izuku and pushing him to his limits to unlock his hysterical strength. The League of Villains attack on USJ, his brutal fight against Nomu and his defeat. Mineta Minoru's death, his fear for his parents' safety, his indecisiveness related to his future, Mirko kidnapping him and taking him to Tokyo, and last, but not the least, the encounter with Eri and his parents' decision to adopt her. So many things happened since the beginning of the school year that Naruto had not had any time to think about romance and the like. I kind of suspected it already, Mina said and smiled weakly, but as she looked down, tears started rolling down her cheeks. It's the rabbit hero, isn't it? How am I supposed to compete with someone like her? It's not like that, Naruto tried to say, but then the girl shook her head and wiped her face with the back of her sleeves. I'm sorry, Uzumaki-san, I must have made you uncomfortable. We better go. The next class is about to start. The two walked back to the classroom in silence, Mina ahead and Naruto behind her. Before they entered the classroom, Mina stopped and turned to face him. Can we still be friends? She asked, not daring to meet his eyes. Of course, why wouldn't we? Naruto's immediate answer made the girl perk up, and she smiled at him radiantly. Then I'll start calling you by your first name from now on. We're friends, Mina said and raised her hand for a handshake, but when Naruto shook hands with her, Mina unexpectedly pulled him to her and wrapped her other arm around him. When she broke the hug, she grinned at him cheekily as she said, "What's with that surprised face? It's normal for friends to hug each other every now and then, no, Naruto?" She giggled, seemingly very satisfied with herself at how she had left him speechless, winking at him once she opened the large door and went inside the classroom, leaving him alone in the corridor. As for Naruto, he was still reeling from surprise. He had given an answer to her confession right on the spot because he did not want to repeat the mistake he did in his past life with Hinata, to whom he had not given an answer for more than a year after she confessed her feelings for him. However, in spite of Mina's initial reaction at being turned down, the pink-skinned girl seemed to have not lost her drive. Instead, her advances became fiercer than ever before. Naruto couldn't recall any girl ever making such bold moves on him. If anything, he was the one who used to pester Sakura to go out with him. This is weird. As weirded out by the situation as he was, he put that train of thought on hold as he went into the classroom too and started preparing for the next class. Time skip. Man, this place is awesome, a red-haired boy shouted in excitement and took in a deep breath, filling his lungs with the smell of sweat and stale locker room air. Freaking weirdo, Naruto muttered as he fastened his breathing mask to cover his mouth and nose, but Kirishima snickered at his insult, not taking it to heart. He was too hyped about training together with Naruto to care. Next to them, Midoriya, Izuku and Masahiro Ojiro finished changing into their gym clothes too and were waiting for Naruto, who was now struggling to tie his three fluffy fox tails together with a belt to not get in the way when working out. It'll take some time to get used to these, Naruto said in chagrin. He was happy that his quirk had awakened 2 times in a row, of course, but having one large foxtail had been troublesome enough already, to speak nothing of 3. Alright, let me introduce you to each other, Midoriya Izuku, Naruto said and pointed at the buff green-haired boy Kirishima Ojiro and pointed at the red-haired boy and Masahiro Ojiro. He finished and motioned towards the blonde-haired boy that had a large muscular tail. Nice to meet you, Kirishima said and shook hands with Izuku. I saw your match against Ida. You were awesome. Izuku flushed at his honest praise and smiled shyly while rubbing the back of his head off. Thank you, it wasn't that much, but don't sell yourself short. Tenya has a strong quirk. His speed could have posed a big threat to any of us, Ojiro said and patted Izuku on the shoulder. Not used to being the center of attention, Izuku scratched his cheek and looked down in embarrassment, not knowing what to say. Look at you, acting all shy and giddy like a schoolgirl in front of her crush, Naruto said snidely and snickered. Oh, shut up. Izuku snapped back at him reflexively, momentarily forgetting about his embarrassment. I'm dying. I don't think I was made for this, Ojiro said, lying on top of a workout mat on his back, his 5 limbs spread eagle. That's bullshit. Izuku couldn't even do 10 push-ups when he started working out, but look at him go now, Naruto said and gestured with his head to the green-haired boy who was in the middle of doing weighted dips, with a plate hanging from his waist. And he's quirkless, unlike you. My quirk is my tail. I'm not much stronger than most people, Ojiro retorted. Your core muscles and your back need to be many times stronger than that of quirkless people for you to use that tail like you do. You can't fool me. You're way stronger than regular people, but you're just a lazy bum. Get up, give me a break, man. Sheesh, what a slave driver, Ojiro complained, not budging an inch. Seeing that Ojiro wasn't going to stand up anytime soon, Naruto shook his head and gave up. He went back to doing barbell squats. You can bring a horse to the river but you can't force it to drink water, he said sagely, and Izuku was forced to stop in the middle of the set because he couldn't keep his form while giggling. When Naruto, I'm about to start working my chest now, can you be my spotter? Kirishima asked. Let me finish this set 1 minute, Naruto said, and cried out in exertion as he pushed the barbell with all the strength that he was capable of. The Smith machine quaked as Naruto rolled the barbell and its hinges got locked in place. After his quirk awakened 2 times in a row, his physical strength had gone up significantly, but it was still not as much as he had hoped for. Nonetheless, leaving the Smith machine behind, he went to Kirishima to help him out with his exercise. By the way, rumor goes that Ishido has a thing for you. Is it true that she asked you out? Kirishima asked while benching the 100 kilograms heavy barbell without even breathing hard. How did you even hear about that? Naruto said in surprise. So it's true, can't believe you'd turn down someone like her, Kirishima said. Whoa, seriously, someone confessed to you? Izuku, who heard what they were talking about, left his exercise and came next to them. Miraculously enough, even Ojiro found the energy to stand up from the floor and came to hear the juicy gossip. Better Ao, what the hell, go back to your shit. Naruto bristled at Izuku, turning to Ojiro. With a mean glare he shooed him away too. I thought you were dead tired. Looks like you were lying, huh? Maybe you'd like to do some deadlifts next. And you, what's with these weak-ass weights, bro? Do you even lift? He also yelled at Kirishima. It's the warm-up set, Kirishima muttered with a pout, but stopped talking and did his sets earnestly. But Naruto's vehement refusal to talk about it confirmed for the 3 boys that the rumors were in fact true. As Naruto and Izuku were heading home from the gym, Izuku told him the story of how he performed at the sports festival. The normally quiet and shy persona he showed towards strangers was nowhere to be seen. He was gesticulating wildly with his hands and his eyes were alight with enthusiasm. But just as I was about to knee him in the face and knock him out, he suddenly activated a super move of his. His speed was insane. He pushed me to the edge of the arena in the blink of an eye. Naruto punched him lightly in the shoulder and grinned at him. I watched the recording of it, but I wish I could have seen it live. That moment, when you grabbed him with one arm and used your hysterical strength to judo throw him out of bounds, was so freaking hype, man. None of this would have been possible without your help, Izuku said, and his hands tightened around the strap of his gym bag. Don't tell me you're about to cry again, Naruto said, half jokingly, half exasperatedly. Shut up, Izuku said, and looked away embarrassed, but Naruto slapped him 2 times on the back as a way of showing he understood his feelings. Hey Naruto, before we go our separate ways, can I talk to you for a moment? Izuku asked. When the blonde tilted his head at him in confusion, Izuku added, somewhere more private with fewer ears around. I don't know. Naruto unexpectedly showed a conflicted expression. I really need to get home quickly today. Oh wait, I can't believe I forgot to tell you about it. I've got a new sister. What? Izuku said in surprise, having not seen that coming. How? I saw your parents last week right before the sports festival. Your mom didn't look pregnant. We adopted a girl. She's the cutest thing ever. I swear to God, I can't wait to see the face she'll make when she sees me come back home, Naruto said and chuckled. But I'll tell you more about it tomorrow. They were now at crossroads, the point where they had to part ways. It's really important, Naruto, please, Izuku insisted, and Naruto stopped in his tracks. 15 minutes later, the 2 teenage boys arrived at Muzutafu City's municipal beach. Although the weather was warm and pleasant, it was still not hot enough for most people to swim in the sea, especially not at that late hour in the evening. There was nobody else on the beach except for the 2 of them. Placing his gym bag down on the sand, Naruto sat on top of it, careful not to let his foxtails touch the sand. Well, what's this big secret you wanted to talk to me about? Not knowing where to start, Izuku just blurted it out. I got a quirk. What? Naruto said in surprise. He even took out his ear mufflers, thinking that he must have misheard him because of the sea breeze. Look, I was born quirkless. I haven't been lying to you, but the day after the sports festival I received it a quirk as a gift. The fuck? Naruto subconsciously cussed. How is that even possible? Izuku clasped his hands together as he gave him his most serious face and said, I'm not joking. I promised that I would never tell anyone about it, but I can't keep a secret as important as this from you, not after everything you've done for me. Before Naruto could tell him to stop fucking around, Izuku quickly added, All Might gave me his quirk. He is gravely injured. His body is in terrible condition nowadays. He can only work as a hero for 3 hours a day, so he's been looking for someone to pass his power to a successor. That's why he became a teacher at UA High this year. I've never heard of a quirk that can be passed on to someone else like that, Naruto muttered, but he decided not to doubt Izuku's words, having seen All Might's true appearance the previous week. Now it all made sense. Furthermore, he reckoned that if All For One, his family's enemy, was capable of stealing quirks from other people, it shouldn't be that hard to believe there was someone out there who could also transfer their quirk to someone else. It's true, I can show you. Look, Izuku said, and jumped up to his feet. He closed his eyes for a moment and got into a wide stance, not that different from the horse stance that his martial arts instructor had made him practice at the dojo. What are you doing? Are you taking a shit? Shut up, asshole, Izuku yelled at him, his face flushed with both anger and embarrassment as he heard Naruto start snickering like a fox. Seriously, be quiet for a minute. If I don't focus, my whole arm will blow up. Now that the fox boy had quieted down, Izuku closed his eyes again and tried to find a mysterious power slumbering inside his body. Naruto's mouth hung open and he quickly stood up as he saw Izuku's right arm abruptly becoming crimson red, as a light pattern of red veins covered his forearm and fist. Izuku punched in the direction of the sea and screamed. Smash! A powerful gust of wind burst seemingly out of nowhere and split the seawater in two for a distance of over 10 meters before it died down. Holy shit, Naruto whispered in awe, opening his eyes. Izuku cradled his right arm gently, his face scrunched up from the pain. This quirk is too powerful for me, and I can't control it well. After one punch my arm is burning and I can't move it for an hour. When I first used it a few days ago, my arm broke in two places. If it hadn't been for recovery girl, mom would have killed me, Izuku said and attempted to joke at the end. On his way home, Naruto's mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts due to the earlier revelation. Izuku said that All Might can still use his power for a little bit even if he already gave his quirk away, but it won't be long before he becomes just a regular man. When that happened, how would the villains react? How would society handle that loss? All Might's power had single-handedly cowed the majority of villains into submission. The contribution of other hero agencies could not be ignored, but the fact was that it was mostly thanks to All Might that there were no widespread criminal organizations consisting of villains in Japan nowadays. He had broken down every single one of them in the early stages of his career. Naruto remembered that one time All Might defeated nearly 100 villains at once when he went against a criminal organization that was handling illegal cage fighting between people with quirks. Once All Might retired, chaos was bound to ensue. For a while, that period of time could be very dangerous for regular people like his parents or like Eri. I need to get stronger and I need to do it fast. Naruto had no illusions about his role in society, about his importance in this world. I'm just a normal boy now. There's no prophecy, there are no gods, and the fate of the world isn't on my shoulders anymore. There were many other people far more capable than him in this world, so he wasn't worried about Japan's safety or the fate of the world at large. In this life, all he wanted was the strength to protect his family. Congratulations, from today onwards your name is Uzumaki. Eri, the lady at the civil registry office, said kindly and dabbed at the corners of her eyes with a napkin. It wasn't the first time she was witnessing children being adopted, but seeing the little girl crying her eyes out from happiness tugged at her heartstrings. Kushina too had tears rolling down her cheeks as she watched how Naruto hugged the sobbing Eri to his chest. Meanwhile, Minato was recording the scene with a camera, all the while smiling from one ear to another as expected from All Might, the hero who had been at the top of the rankings for more than 2 decades. His reach and connections were not to be underestimated. Less than 2 weeks from the day when Minato and Kushina took Eri, and he had made it possible for them to adopt her, a process that would normally take several good months. After tactfully giving the family of 4 some time to themselves, All Might stepped closer and told Minato and Kushina, "If possible, I would like to have a private conversation with you. It's related to Naruto's special quirk," he said, and the two understood that he was talking about Naruto's adamantine sealing chains. In the end, at Minato's and Kushina's insistence, All Might ended up coming to have lunch with the Uzumaki family at their residence. Due to how emotional and exciting that morning had been, by the time they got home, Eri had fallen asleep in Naruto's arms. After Naruto tucked the sleeping Eri in his bed, he returned to the kitchen just in time to hear All Might saying, "I don't mean to be rude, but I am not allowed to eat much of anything due to medical reasons. Some coffee would be great though," All Might said regretfully and gulped wistfully at the sight and smell of the beefsteak Kushina just took out from the oven. Though inwardly bummed out, Kushina did not try to force him to eat and served him some coffee instead. After taking a small sip from the cup, All Might blew out a sigh and said, "When Naruto told me about his quirk nullifying chains, he wanted me to promise I'd never reveal it to anyone. He didn't tell me much about it, but he seemed to believe that a powerful criminal would try to hunt him down if the information about his other quirk became public. Can you tell me more about it? If there is anything I can do, I will help you, since All Might already knew the secret of her and Naruto's quirk." Kushina did not see the point in beating around the bush, so she was direct and truthful about her family's enemy. But much to Kushina, Minato, and Naruto's confusion, All Might let out a chuckle when she finished talking. "I'm sorry, I'm just so relieved," All Might said, understanding that the 3 of them were still very much confused. He added, "All for One is dead." What? Kushina almost shouted, her eyes wide in disbelief. All for One was the mortal enemy of her family ever since she awakened her quirk after her parents' death and her grandmother told her about AFO. Kushina had lived in a state of continuous fear, although with the passing of time she began to slowly forget about it. Deep down she had always been afraid of AFO learning about her existence and coming after her family. Hearing that the bane of her existence was dead left her stunned. "Since you have entrusted me With your deepest secrets I shall let you know the truth about me as well, All Might said, and made a small pause to take another sip from his cup of coffee. It hadn't been revealed to the public because I asked the authorities to keep it a secret. I fought All for One 5 years ago. He was my archenemy, saying that All Might cancelled his muscle form, making both Minato and Kushina nearly jump up to their feet. Shocking when you see it first, right? All Might said with a laugh. I did win that fight. All for One is dead, but I wasn't left unscathed. I lost my stomach and one of my lungs over the years. I had to go through countless surgeries which drained my body of its vitality until I became like this. All Might made a complicated face as he continued. Truthfully, my days as a hero are nearing their end, but I have chosen my successor already, he said, and made sure to look at Naruto meaningfully. You know who he is, Naruto. I hope that you will continue to support him just like you did until now. While the family of three were silent, All Might said, honestly, after seeing your self-sacrificing spirit, your bravery, and your tenacity at USJ, I seriously considered passing on the torch to you, but fate works in mysterious ways. The qualities I saw in your friend were not any less than what I saw in you, but while you already are a splendid seedling, Midoriya lacked something vital. He lacked real power. He lacked the tools to achieve his purpose, his desire to protect people, and the recklessness to put his life on the line in spite of being just a quirkless young boy. He reminded me of my younger self. I wanted to offer him the potential to become great. The day after Eri was adopted into the Uzumaki family, it was time for all the Hero Course students at UA High to give their homeroom teachers the forms with the hero agencies that they had applied for. So what agency did you choose? Mina asked, hyped to hear his answer. Are you going to Hawks or to Endeavor, or maybe you're going to one of the hero agencies from the United States? What are you saying? He's definitely going to go to Mirko, Kaminari said with a shake of his head as if he couldn't believe how naive she was. I mean, what, have you not seen it? They've been inseparable since USJ. What was how everyone reacted, including Naruto. Bro, get off cross chat, your confusing fan-made videos with reality, Kirishima said with a snicker. I've only met her once since USJ, Naruto said, not understanding how did Kaminari reach the conclusion that he and Mirko were now inseparable as expected of a pervert, Kyoka said, and threw Kaminari a dirty look, but it does make sense for him to take on the rabbit heroes offer, Momo Yaoyorosa said with a pondering look on her face. She has an animal-type mutation quirk like him. She'd know the best how to help him further develop his fox quirk. But why? Mina burst out, not even trying to hide her frustration. Mirko doesn't have a real hero agency, and she's never taken a sidekick before. I think the number 13 hero, the Lion Hero, would be better. I agree with Mina, I'm going to the Lion Hero. Shishido Tuojiro said, wagging his tail like a dog. Hey, guess what hero agencies I've applied to? Yuga Aoyama suddenly butted into their conversation and struck a pose. No one cares, Kaminari yelled at him in annoyance while they were all talking animatedly about the hero agencies they had chosen for their internship. The large door of the classroom was opened and the students' first reaction was to rush back to their seats thinking that it was Professor Aizawa, but instead Tsuyuchan Achiko yelled as she rushed at her and swooped her in a bear hug. Uraraka wasn't the only one. Momo was also quick to jump out of her seat, and after her the entire class clamored around the frog girl, who appeared to be overwhelmed by their overenthusiastic welcome. She had totally not seen that coming. Are you okay? Are you still hurt? Are you better now? I'm so happy to see you back. Hagakure Koda and Sato transferred to another school. It's so good that you didn't give up. Hey, did you hear that Bakugo got expelled? Bombarded with their questions and well wishes, Tsuyu was like a deer caught in the spotlight. Luckily she escaped from their clutches a few minutes later when Shota Aizawa came and started the homeroom class. Deep down, however, the girl was moved almost to tears. Her classmates' show of support meant to her more than they could imagine. Time skip is that the fox boy from UA High? A man asked in surprise when he saw a blonde-haired boy with fox ears and 3 tails coming down from the train with 2 large suitcases in his hands. Whoa, it's Uzumaki Naruto in person, a girl shouted, and people from all over the train platform rushed at the wagon from which Naruto came out, crowding the exit and effectively surrounding him from all sides. May I shake your hand? Could you sign this t-shirt for my son, please? Not expecting to get mobbed by nearly 100 people right as he came out from the train, Naruto was at a loss of how to react. He knew he had become very famous, but he had not thought it would be to that degree. What he had failed to realize, however, was that people in Mizutofu City were somewhat used to seeing pro-hero celebrities on a daily basis because UA High was located there, and quite a few famous heroes like Mount Lady or Kamui lived there too. But Hiroshima City was over 600 kilometers away from Mizutofu, and the only famous pro-hero living there was Mirko, the rest being rather minor hero agencies and their sidekicks. Therefore, when news of Naruto choosing the Rabbit Heroes agency for his internship was somehow leaked to the public. Dozens of fanboys and fangirls gathered at the train station waiting for him. It took Naruto nearly 15 minutes of shaking hands and giving autographs before he finally got out of their encirclement. By the time he escaped, his foxtails looked like the chainsaws from how people fondled them, and there was even a lipstick mark on his cheek too. At that moment he looked more like an irate cat, rather than a fox. That's sexual harassment. What the hell is wrong with these people, he thought as he grabbed his suitcases and broke into a run. Is this really the place? Naruto muttered to himself as he looked at the GPS map app on his phone to double-check that he was at the right address, and then back at the apartment building in front of him. It looked like a residential district where regular people lived. There were no signs of an agency belonging to one of the top 10 most popular pro heroes in the country. But why Mirko doesn't have a real hero agency, and she's never taken a sidekick before? He recalled Mina saying that 2 days ago. He had thought that she said that merely out of jealousy, but there seemed to be more to it than that. Oh well. Naruto shrugged and put his phone in his pocket before grabbing his suitcases and going inside the building. He had chosen the Rabbit Hero as his mentor not because he cared about fancy buildings and facilities, but because their quirks and fighting styles were similar. At that moment what he cared about the most was increasing his strength. Reaching the topmost floor of the building, Naruto stopped in front of a black metallic door with the number 380 on it and a white plaque on which it was written, Tiger Bunny Hero Agency, and a cell phone number. One moment a yell came from inside. After he rang the doorbell, a cacophony of sounds was heard and the walls shuddered a little as a door had been slammed shut. Half a minute later the entrance door was opened, revealing Mirko no Usajiyama Rumi. Seeing as she was not dressed in her pro hero suit, instead all she was wearing was a pair of white bunny slippers on her feet, black dolphin shorts, and a green crop top shirt that left her midriff open, showing off her ripped abs. You're finally here, she said, but then her face broke into a wide grin when he took in his disheveled appearance and the smudged lipstick mark on his face. What happened to you? Ha ha ha, may I come in? Naruto said, feeling a wave of tiredness washing over him just at the reminder of what the crowd of fans had put him through when he got out of the train. Naruto's parents were not poor. The Uzumaki were a successful middle-class family. However, it was the first time he stepped into an apartment as luxurious as Mirko's home. He didn't know much about furniture and fashion trends, so all he could think was that it looked expensive as fuck. It was just as one would expect from an apartment on the topmost floor of a high-rise building in the center of the city. Let me help you with that, Rumi said, playing the role of a good host, but she nearly dropped the suitcase when she grabbed it from his hands. She had not expected it to be that heavy. What the hell are you carrying with you? Millstones? Naruto chuckled at her rough language. I have a lot of weapons. Once he took off his shoes and his suitcases were left somewhere to the side, Rumi led the way to the living room and invited him to sit on a black leather sofa. So this is your agency headquarters? Naruto asked as he looked around the room, his eyes lingering on the tall and wide windows that offered a breathtaking view of Hiroshima's cityscape. I won't beat around the bush. This is my home. Tiger Bunny is a hero agency in name only. I'm the only member, she said with a shrug, and took a seat next to him. Naruto felt his skin breaking out into goosebumps as a fruity scent, mixed up with a light smell of sweat, wafted from her when she sat down. It looked like before he arrived she must have done some physical effort because the temperature in the apartment was cool and nice thanks to the AC running in the background. There are no special facilities for combat or fitness, no support type employees, no office type personnel either. It's just you and me. Disappointed yet, she said with a grin. I came here for you, not for buildings or for other people, he said. Not bad. I knew I was right to send you an offer, she said with a grin. I punched him lightly in the shoulder. But why did you choose my agency? I'm sure you must have had thousands of other offers, some of them even from the United States. We both have animal-type quirks, and you're great at close-quarter combat. I think that out of all the heroes you're the best suited to teach me, and I also know you're strong, much stronger than me. I saw what you did to that Nomu at USJ. Rumi shook her head at his words. You're being too harsh on yourself. That Nomu creature was very strong. It was a counter for physical types like us. Frankly speaking, you were incredible to have fought against it for so long. If it hadn't been weakened from his fight with you, I'm sure it wouldn't have been easy for me to beat it. After saying that, she hopped up to her feet and clapped her hands once. All right, now let me show you your room. We'll probably not spend the entire week here, but still it's good to have a place where you can get comfortable. After Naruto unpacked his things and familiarized himself with the guest room, he went looking for Rumi. He found her in the living room, sitting on the sofa and munching on a carrot as she browsed the internet on her laptop. You really like carrots? He had thought that was something that fans had made up about her. I'm a rabbit, she said, and shrugged. Did you finish unpacking? Yes, I'm done. So what do I do now? What is your plan today? We won't do any hero work. I want to see exactly what you're capable of. I want to gauge your abilities myself, and then we can Discuss what you need to improve on, but of course if something urgent comes up that will take priority, so be prepared at all times. 600 kilometers away, the Bakugo family was in the living room, all three of them watching the news on TV. Katsuki, go see who's ringing the doorbell. Hell, if I care, go see for yourself. A heavy smack twisted his head to the side. What are you hitting me for, old woman? I'll kill you, Bakugo screamed at his mother. Shut your trap and do what I say, she yelled back at him, and smacked him upside the head once again. You do nothing around the house, just loafing around like a freeloader. There's no need for arguing, I'll go see it myself. Just calm down. In the meantime, Katsuki's father said, trying to placate them, only for his son to scream at him, shut up, you shitty old man, you want me to kick your ass? A third heavy slap from his mother almost made Katsuki see stars. And that's exactly what got you expelled. You never learn your lesson, do you? How many times have I told you to keep your temper in check? I told you your behavior won't get a pass once you go to UA, she yelled at him. And who did I get my temper from? Huh, it was from you. While the mother and son duo were screaming at each other, the father went to the door to see who was ringing the bell so insistently. Good afternoon, how may I help you? He asked. The visitors were two men in their mid-30s wearing similar black suits, shoes and shades. The two of them looked like they were part of a secret organization. Hello, we are Hatake Kakashi and Yamato Shimura from the Hero Public Safety Commission, one of the two men, the one with spiky silver hair, said, and they both showed him their badges confirming their identity. We would like to discuss some matters concerning your son. I'm sure, please come in, Mr. Bakugo said as he opened the door wider to welcome them. And once the introductions were over, and they were all sitting in the living room, Mrs. Bakugo asked, so what is it you wanted to talk about? Did this idiot son of mine get into trouble again? Who are you calling an idiot, you old hag? Katsuki screamed at his mother, but she ignored him in favor of hearing what the two agents from HPSC had to say. None of that sort, ma'am, the silver-haired man said. We are here to make you a special offer, Yamato, if you will, Kakashi said and gestured to his brown-haired colleague. I'll start by saying that Katsuki Bakugo was a promising prospect, one of the top 5 students among the freshmen at UA High this year. Seeing as it's the most popular and successful hero course high school in the country, all promising students have many eyes on them, whether we're talking about hero agencies or the government. Unfortunately, his misconduct put a big black spot on his record. The three Bakugo did not interrupt him as they all agreed with his words. Inwardly, there were many other hero course schools in Japan besides UA, but being expelled from UA High was always going to drag Katsuki down in the future. When he applied to work as a sidekick at a hero agency, UA High's response to Katsuki Bakugo's misconduct had been rather harsh, but I can't exactly blame them either in the light of recent events. Had it been another time, your son would have only been suspended for a week or two and gotten detention, but with the disaster at USJ a few weeks ago, and with the entire country watching UA's every move, they had to show that they would not tolerate any danger to their students' safety, whether from outside or from inside. Would you get straight to the point already? Katsuki screamed impatiently. I don't have all day to hear you blabber about. Katsuki suddenly went mute when the silver-haired man glanced at him. You've already dug yourself a big hole, don't make it any deeper. Kakashi's tone was calm, but the aura of intimidation that Katsuki Bakugo felt from him was like nothing he'd ever experienced before. Even when the villains attacked them at USJ, he had not been as scared and disturbed as he was now. It wasn't only Katsuki who noticed the change in the mood. His parents became wary of the two agents from HPSC as well. That was uncalled for, Kakashi, Yamato said in slight annoyance, but getting straight to the point. We are here to extend you an invitation. As he said that, he opened his black envelope and took out a sheet of paper from it before putting it on the coffee table and pushing it towards them. Katsuki was about to take it, but his mother snatched the piece of paper before he could get his hands on it and read it first. Root Special Services. What is this supposed to mean? I've never heard of it, Mrs. Bakugo said, her eyebrows scrunched together in a frown. Root is a special branch of the Hero Public Safety Commission that deals with sensitive matters and tasks that cannot be performed by regular pro heroes and other government officials. Yamato explained, my goal is to become the #1 hero in Japan, not to be part of some shady organization that nobody even heard about, Katsuki said, but he kept the tone of voice civil this time instead. Kakashi's earlier intimidation having worked wonders. It is good to have dreams and aspirations, but there comes a point where one has to be realistic about their options, and that moment has come for you now too, young man, Kakashi said in the same calm tone as before. Kakashi Yamato tried to tell him off, but Kakashi raised a hand as a sign to leave it to him. Being expelled from UA is not the end of the world indeed, but you will have a hard time getting into any of the top-ranked hero course academies in the country, because everyone knows now the reason you got expelled. Kakashi said, you attacked a fellow student outside of school unprovoked and injured him to the point where he got hospitalized. You need to understand that having a powerful quirk is only half of what someone needs to become a pro hero. Good behavior and a marketable personality are just as important, and you don't have that. You are rude, reckless, stubborn, and Violent, you are like a ticking bomb that nobody wants to own. You have to realize that your options are limited at the moment. Why do you show so much interest in my son? Mrs. Bakugo asked wearily. That is our job, ma'am, Yamato replied. This time we care not only about Katsuki Bakugo but all the gifted children. Too many misguided children with powerful quirks have gone astray and become a danger to ordinary people and society. Are you saying that my son is going to become a villain? She said, her voice starting to show signs of anger. He just attacked a student a few days ago and left him with severe burns in the hospital, Kakashi said plainly. If he did something like that at 15, what would he do in a few years? And it's not like this was a one-time thing. We've also investigated his behavior in middle school, and there are more than a dozen instances where he beat up other kids or used his quirk in public and caused property damage. Mrs. Bakugo had nothing to reply to that. As a mother, she wanted to take her son's side, but she wasn't completely blind to his flaws either. It was only that until Katsuki's most recent misdeed, he had not done anything too problematic. Until then, she had just chalked his behavior up to kids being kids and hoped that he would naturally grow out of it as he matured, the tone of his voice becoming kinder. Kakashi continued, right now your son is still protected by the law due to being underage, but he needs to understand that his actions have consequences. This is no longer just about being a bully and messing around with other kids. He possesses a powerful and highly dangerous quirk, one that could easily cause someone's death. If your son was 3 years older, he could be charged with aggravated assault or even attempted murder for what he did to that boy. Being sentenced to 10 or 15 years behind the bars for something like that isn't a stretch either. Hearing Kakashi's words, Mr. and Mrs. Bakugo became pale in the face. Katsuki Bakugo too couldn't find anything to say, his eyes betraying the shock. He felt reckless and impulsive as he was. He had not considered the consequences of his actions when he attacked Shinso. All he wanted was to get even with him and avenge his loss at the sports festival. Unsatisfied with how he lost, he had not thought much of it because after all, he used to beat up and bully people every day in middle school, and he had never suffered any repercussions in the heat of the moment. However, he failed to control his strength properly, and Shinso was gravely injured as a result. Aside from his brainwashing quirk, Hitoshi, Shinso was just a regular 15-year-old boy. He didn't have any sort of special defense abilities against the equivalent of a hand grenade exploding in his face. You don't have to decide on the spot, Yamato said, and took out a business card from his chest pocket. You can contact us at a later date, after you've made up your mind. Back to Hiroshima Prefecture. Later that day, Naruto and Mirko were standing with their backs resting against the wall of a wooden cabin, drinking cola and eating some chocolate bars to replenish the energy that they had lost. My legs are all sore and beaten up. Damned kid, are you really only 15? Mirko complained as she massaged her thighs and calves with her hands. Her otherwise strong and thick thighs were covered in bruises and her shapely calves were red too. They had sparred against each other using only their martial arts skills, and Naruto had chosen the perfect strategy to counter her against an opponent as agile as the rabbit hero. The key was to take away their movement. It was a martial arts principle that remained relevant since the early days of MMA a few centuries ago up until the present. So he took on a counter-striking strategy, focusing on defending against her blows and attacking her legs with low kicks whenever she left herself open. That is not to say that Naruto had come out of it unscathed. His forearms were tender and pulsating with pain from all the kicks that he had blocked. Mirko seemed to like going for the head with her kicks, and he considered himself lucky his ribs weren't broken from the crushing blows he had eaten. My mom used to be a dojo instructor before she got pregnant. She's the one that made me train since I was a little kid. No matter how I look at it, you don't get that kind of fighting skill in just a few years, Mirko said. But you did great. You didn't absorb many flush hits. Your guard was up at all times, and you were very technical with your counter-striking. Honestly, I don't have anything to teach you when it comes to regular fighting, so I'm going to focus on developing your quirk from tomorrow onwards. But we still have a few hours until the sunset, Naruto said. Are you by chance a training maniac? She tilted her head at him and asked. Naruto scratched the back of his head in slight embarrassment. I just want to make the most out of this internship. 1 week is already not enough for me to learn everything. I can't afford to slack off. That's what you're worried about. Starting with the second year, once you get your provisional license, you'll be able to spend even 3 months at a time on an internship, she said, and ruffled his hair. Him leaning away from her in annoyance only made her grin at him. We're both beat up, so let's get some rest for today, right? How about I take you out to Yakiniku to celebrate your first day at Tiger Bunny? Naruto involuntarily started sniggering at the name of the agency. How did you come up with that name? Mirko snickered too as she stood up and said, let's get going, I'll tell you on the road. After they left the courtyard and Mirko closed the gates, the two of them broke into a light jog towards the city. I bought this cabin a few months ago, not long after I broke into the top 10 rankings. I liked the peace and the quiet of this village, and I was planning on turning it into a holiday home, Mirko began to say. Despite her earlier claims of being tired, her breathing was even and calm as If she was walking instead of running, it's a nice place only a few kilometers away from the city but still remote enough that you rarely see any cars outside of the hours when people go to work and come back. It's pretty nice. Yes, Naruto acknowledged. TSK, a kid like you wouldn't understand an adult's need for a place to retreat from the noise and chaos of their daily life, Mirko said. Anyway, Tiger Bunny, I actually got this nickname in high school, during my delinquent days. What? No way, Naruto said, while laughing, and Mirko laughed together with him too. I'm serious. I sometimes miss those days. I used to love crushing other district's school gangs and making them call me Aniki, ha ha ha. At first he thought she was joking, but the joy he could hear in her laughter was a bit too pure to not be real. But I wouldn't change it for my present. Beating up villains to a pulp is far more satisfying. The more she was speaking, the more he got the feeling that Mirko might not be exactly normal. Imagine if some reporters heard what you said now, Naruto said with a chuckle. Hey, I get to help people beat the crap out of scumbags and even get paid for it. What's not to love about being a hero, she said, and snickered. Naruto laughed awkwardly at her words. What she said was no different than what he had told his mother on the morning before the start of the sports festival when she asked him if he was afraid of fighting against villains. Of course I'm not, he said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Why would I be getting to beat up people and even getting paid for it? Hell yeah. Naruto, thinking that the rabbit hero was not normal, was like the kettle calling the pot black. Around half an hour later, after taking a quick shower and blow drying his hair and his tails, Naruto came out of the bathroom wearing only a pair of black shorts and an orange t-shirt with a number 10 imprint on its back. But on his way to his room he noticed another door in the hallway with an A4 sheet of paper on which it was written in red, "Do not open." It could be due to his Fox quirks influence, or maybe it was due to him being curious as a person, but he could not simply ignore that sign. Looking to the left and then to the right to make sure Mirko wasn't around, Naruto pushed the door open. It was stuck. It wasn't locked. The door could be opened, but not more than a few centimeters. Grabbing the door frame with both hands for leverage, he pushed the door with his feet as hard as he could. A sound of many things falling onto each other was heard as he pushed the door open, and in the next moment a mountain of things flooded out of the room through the half-open door like an avalanche, burying him underneath. Rumi's long rabbit ears were not just for show. The moment that the avalanche of things poured out of the room and buried Naruto underneath, she heard it and rushed out to see what happened. She arrived in the hallway just in time to see Naruto swim up to the surface. What the hell is this? He said, momentarily feeling dazed from the barrage of strong smells that had assaulted his sensitive nose. Taking a better look around, he was rendered speechless. It was a mountain of clothes, food leftovers, dozens of bags filled with unsorted trash, pieces of broken furniture, old or defective electronics, and many other things. Still bewildered by what he was seeing, Naruto was on autopilot as he grabbed a piece of clothing that was hanging from one of his fox ears, a deep red color and very soft to the touch. His eyes widened a moment later when it finally dawned on him what he was holding in his hands. It was a high-leg lace thong. It was the naughtiest piece of clothing he had ever seen, let alone touched. Looking up, his blue eyes met Rumi's crimson red ones. "I think these are yours," Naruto said, his face flushed red at having been caught staring so intently at her underwear. "No shit, Sherlock," she yelled at him, her face burning too. "Didn't you see the sign? It said, 'Do not open, for God's sake.' And for how long are you gonna keep on holding them?" At her yell, he quickly threw the pair of panties to the side and looked away in embarrassment. The awkwardness that was instilled in the air was so thick and heavy that it was palpable. "I want to die. Someone please kill me," Rumi cried out inwardly and buried her face in her palms, her long rabbit ears sagging down powerlessly. She was mortified with shame. She wanted to just dig a hole somewhere and die. The rabbit hero was infamous for not sticking to her turf like most pro-heroes. In general, pro-heroes and their agencies stuck to one city or prefecture, but Mirko was like the wind, changing her area of operation every day. She rarely slept in the same place for more than 3 nights in a row. That said, due to not spending time at home often enough and due to always being busy with her hero work, trash and dirty laundry piled up in her apartment bit by bit. When she found out that Naruto had chosen her agency and that he was going to come over, she did her best to make the entire apartment spotless, but she did not have enough time to take out all the trash too. All high-rise apartment buildings had a special room on every floor where people could take out the trash, but everything had to be sorted out in order to be recycled and compacted, and that would take a long time for the amount of stuff she had to go through. The cacophony of sounds and the bang made by a door being slammed that Naruto heard when he arrived were from Rumi shoving the last bit of trash into that room before shutting it. Her plan had been for the two of them to not spend more than 2 or 3 days in Hiroshima, so she had hoped that he would not go into that room before that. One of her rabbit ears flinched up when she heard Naruto start making noises, and she looked at him through her fingers. "What are you doing?" she asked a moment later, and she hated herself for how her voice quivered. Having managed to recollect himself, Naruto's intention was to do something to ease the awkwardness between them, but when she asked him that question and he saw her face still boiling red, his embarrassment returned at full force to him. We should clean this out. Taking her silence as an okay, he said, I'll start out with the pieces of broken furniture. Maybe you could collect the more sensitive stuff in the meantime. After Naruto left through the entrance door carrying a broken nightstand with him, Rumi slid against the wall and let herself fall on the floor powerlessly. There goes my good. First impression, her intention had been to appear as the cool elder sister type, a strong and awesome person that her cute sidekick could admire and rely on, a role model for him, but all that went out the window now. All he got to see was the slob of a person and the unladylike woman that she was. 3 hours and a dozen elevator trips later, Naruto and Rumi finished sorting and carrying all the trash outside. By the end of it, the rabbit hero was drained both mentally and physically. Although it was only 9 p.m. she retired to her bedroom and went to sleep, but Naruto wasn't that tired because normally he would train himself to exhaustion before calling it a day. Therefore, still having gas in the tank, he went onto the balcony and with a seemingly light jump his body appeared to be weightless as he launched himself several meters in the air and landed on the rooftop. For the next 2 hours he did all sorts of difficult bodyweight exercises such as handstand push-ups and one-arm push-ups with a very high number of repetitions and very short rest time in between, working on further improving his endurance. The second day of the internship came, and with it it seemed like the rabbit hero had forgotten all about the previous day's embarrassment. Naruto too decided not to bring it up and paid attention to what she was telling him instead. Both of them dressed in their hero costumes, Naruto and Mirko were now once again at the cabin she owned in the woods outside of Hiroshima City. You're carrying a great deal of weapons. Are you good at using them all? She asked when she saw the contents of his suitcase. There were dozens of kunai metallic wires, military-grade smoke grenades and flashbangs, and on top of them all there was a huge blade with a retractable handle that was a new addition to his arsenal. Do you even know how to wield this? Mirko said in surprise when she took a look at the weapon Naruto was holding now in his hands. He had assembled the huge blade and the retractable handle. It was an intimidating looking polearm, a naginata with a wide and heavy blade. I don't have much experience with this kind of weapon. I'm way better with a bow staff, Naruto admitted, but I'm pretty good at learning how to wield weapons, he said, and did a few very quick slashes and stabs with the polearm to demonstrate his control and dexterity with it. Then why aren't you using a bow staff instead? Naruto hesitated a bit before saying, it doesn't have enough killing power. He had half expected Mirko to berate him for saying such words, but her reply surprised him. Certainly that's important. You're thinking ahead about what would happen if you encountered an enemy as durable as Nomu in the future. It's not a bad idea, but there are some problems with using this polearm against a villain. First, it takes too much time for you to assemble it. You could get a normal polearm too, but that would attract too much attention and it would be difficult to carry around, which brings me to the second point. You can't use it indoors. Well, of course, but what are the chances I'll be fighting someone as strong as Nomu in a narrow hallway? Higher than you might think. Statistically, the majority of villain encounters and arrests happen indoors regardless. The third and most important point is this, Mirko said, and suddenly kicked at the polearm in his hands, not having expected her to attack him out of the blue. Naruto's instinctively used the naginata he was holding to block her attack. In the next moment he watched in stupefaction as her kick somehow broke the large blade of the polearm into several pieces as if it were made of glass. That's why you hardly see any physical type quirk users wield any weapons. Our strength has evolved to the point where close-range weapons have become obsolete. Even the toughest metal in the world, tungsten, wouldn't be able to handle one of my kicks. As she was speaking, Naruto looked dumbly at the now bladeless polearm in his hands. My naginata, don't worry, I can buy you another one. Haha. Mirko snickered at his lost look and ruffled his hair. In his dumbstruck state he forgot about his annoyance at being treated like a kid. Then if weapons are no good, how am I supposed to deal with something like Nomu or Mount Lady, for example? You don't. What? As I said, you don't. There aren't many heroes that have powerful enough quirks to deal with such overwhelming opponents, and that's one of the reasons why hero agencies were created, for heroes to band together and cover for each other's weaknesses. If you don't have the means to fight against such an opponent, someone else in your team likely will. He understood her reasoning because it was also what he had told Izuku many times before. If you're not strong enough, don't throw your life away. If possible, avoid that fight instead of dying meaninglessly. But there was one thing he was confused about. If that's the case, why do you not have any teammates? Because I'm not a weakling, Mirko said and laughed smugly with her hands on her waist. The rabbit hero is more than strong enough to stand on her own. But enough about me, I want to show you something, she said, and went into the cabin. She came back with a rather large tablet and started playing a video. It was the recording of the villain's attack on USJ. Your strategy with the smoke grenade, the knives, and the metallic wires was amazing. You made great use of your unpredictability martial arts and your fox quirk's dexterity. She praised him, but what I want to show you is this, she said, fast forwarding the clip to the moment where Naruto's quirk awakened a second time. At that moment he had gained a third fox tail, his eyes had become slit and crimson red like those of a fox, and his nails had transformed into claws. Instead of using an inconvenient and fragile weapon, why not use your natural abilities, your quirk, she said, and pointed at the way Naruto's claws had sliced Nomu's forearm clean and then stabbed through its chest and spinal cord as if its body was made of paper. The killing power of your claws was formidable. If you had gone for the head, you could have killed Nomu in one hit. I've thought about it before, but I can't control my claws at will, Naruto said as he looked at his hands. I was desperate last time. I lost my mind. My quirk's feral nature took over and I just attacked Nomu, based on my instincts. Luckily Nomu and I were the only ones close by, but if there were any innocent bystanders, I don't know what I would have done. I see, Mirko said, putting a hand on her chin as she hummed and thought. Have you brought your claws out since then? No, I noticed my eyes becoming red when I was getting anxious or angry, but I never let myself go any further. I didn't want to endanger the ones around me. So you're saying that strong emotions of fear or anger seem to be the trigger? How about we test it out then? And what if the fox takes over again? Naruto said in worry. We're a few kilometers away from the city, so there's no one around that you could hurt, and I'm here to stop you if anything goes wrong, so stop being a worrywart. Come at me with all you've got. At her words, it was as if a chain was suddenly snapped and Naruto's innocent blue eyes transformed into the cruel red slits of a fox. Ever since the USJ disaster over a month ago, Naruto had been keeping himself in check. Worried about his fox quirk's feral nature, it reminded him of how Kyuubi used to cloud his mind with his hatred and rage and take over his body in his past life, so he had not allowed himself the luxury of letting loose at all after his quirk's awakening. But now it was different, knowing that Mirko could stop him, knowing that he had nothing to worry about. He finally let those suppressed instincts come to the surface. The grass beneath his feet was ripped as he suddenly kicked the ground and launched himself at Mirko with such speed that a powerful gale of wind was stirred in his wake. A violent kick to the face sent Naruto smashing through the fence and then through two more trees before his body finally came to a stop. Have you come back to your senses yet? He heard a voice say, and when he looked up he saw the rabbit hero walking towards him while holding onto a bleeding gash on her right shoulder. Her arms and legs had red claw marks all over, and her white leotard suit was also ripped in several places, exposing an indecent amount of skin around her chest area. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. There's no need for apology, she immediately rebuked him. Take a look at your hands. Despite being filled with worry regarding what he had done, he involuntarily looked at his hands as she told him to do. It wasn't just his nails that had transformed into vicious-looking claws, but his hands also took on a slightly different appearance, looking bigger, stronger, and sturdier. What do you feel right now? She asked. Do you still feel anxious or angry? Do you feel afraid? No. If that's the case, I think that your quirk doesn't react to your emotions themselves, but to adrenaline. However, fear, anxiety, anger, desperation, and other similarly powerful emotions are the easiest ways to trigger your body to produce adrenaline, so it all makes sense now. Focus on what you're feeling at the moment and memorize it. You were surprisingly hard to deal with, Mirko said as they left the cabin and started walking towards the city. 2 hours later, your charging speed was so high you were leaving after images and you could reach your top speed instantly with zero acceleration time. You got me a few times. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing, Mirko said in annoyance and tried to punch him in the shoulder, but he quickly ducked away from her swing, not wanting his arm to become numb again. It wouldn't be the first time I'm telling you this, as praise leaving after images means that you're faster than what a regular human eye can perceive. That kind of speed by itself would render most opponents helpless. As for your claws, they're as strong as I expected. Look, you even sliced through my special alloy rabbit shoes. As she said that, she raised her foot to his eye level to show him the tip of her large rabbit foot-like shoe being cut cleanly. Luckily her feet were the same size as those of regular humans, so she didn't get injured. Are you sure you don't have to go to the hospital? Naruto asked in worry as he took in her appearance. Tis but a flesh wound, she said, and in spite of how guilty he felt, Naruto burst into laughter. I'm serious, she said. My rabbit quirk gives me a slightly increased healing factor. Superficial flesh wounds like these should be healed after a good night's rest. I wouldn't mind if you carried me though, she said with a grin. I thought you said you were fine. I am fine, but my clothes aren't. Where are you looking? Pervert, my eyes are up here. Want me to bash your skull? And she said, half jokingly, half threateningly, when he saw how his eyes immediately dropped to her chest where her ripped leotard suit barely covered her large breasts anymore. He quickly looked away in embarrassment. I see, so you did get a good look, huh? I mean that I understand, he retorted, but the red in his cheeks betrayed his thoughts, and she snickered at his reaction. Well then, I'll be relying on you in the first place. It's your fault my clothes have become like this, she said, and before he could say no, she hopped onto his back and wrapped her legs around his waist and her arms around his neck like a monkey. For a moment he was stunned. He had not expected her to actually do it. "Is this really okay?" he said hesitantly. The feeling of her chest pressing against his back and her characteristic fruity scent mixed with sweat were making a certain part of his body react in a rather inappropriate way. "I don't remember the last time someone gave me a piggyback go-go," she said and giggled happily. "But are you okay? Your heart is beating as if to jump out of your chest," she said in fake worry, as if she wasn't aware of what effect her posture would have on a teenage boy like him. "Please don't tease me, Mirko-san," he said meekly. "Your reactions are adorable," she said with a snicker, patting the top of his head. "Stop petting me, I'm not a dog." "True, you're acting more like a cat," she said, scratching him lightly at the base of his fox ears, knowing full well that he had no way to get away from her now, grabbing onto the muscular legs. Squeezing his waist, Naruto broke into a light jog with the rabbit woman on his back, but while he was sweating buckets from running through the heat while also carrying her piggyback, Mirko took out her smartphone and started browsing CrossChat, the biggest social media platform in Japan. "Say cheese," she said, and the particular click made when snapping a photo came from her phone. "Ugh, are you gonna put that pic on CrossChat?" "Please don't." "Why not?" she asked while typing a caption for the photo. "Stamina training with my first pupil. There are enough rumors about us flying around already. No need to give them more fuel. Who cares? You're just a kid, and I'm way older than you. Who would even believe such a thing?" She laughed and rubbed his head roughly. "Well, I care," he said in annoyance. "Imagine what my mom is going to say when she sees that pic. Is she following my profile too? Are you kidding me? She worships the ground you walk on." She has a huge collection of Mirko in action figurines and dozens of other types of merchandise with your brand on them. If that's the case, what if I follow her profile too?" Her name was Uzumaki Kushino, wasn't it? "My dad is going to curse you for sure," he said with a shake of his head. "I'm just glad I won't be home this week. Mom will go crazy." It was only their second day of the internship, but the two of them had already started bickering with each other as if they were good friends in spite of the age gap, though Naruto did wish she stopped petting his head like a dog all the time. A few moments after she posted that pic of the two of them on social media, Mirko was forced to turn off the notifications for the CrossChat app because it was ringing and vibrating incessantly. Less than 2 minutes later, that pic already had several thousand likes. It was when the city's outskirts appeared in his line of sight that Mirko's phone rang again. It wasn't a notification from CrossChat this time. "Hey, put me down, Mirko," suddenly said her voice, carrying none of the easy going and joking tone from before, and Naruto let go of her thighs, looking at Mirko, who was reading something on her phone with a serious look on her face. Naruto came behind her to read over her shoulder. It was an app unfamiliar to him. It was the Hero Network app. "It's a voice message," Mirko said before tapping the screen to play it. "The hero killer attacked pro-hero native and a UA high student. Send help please." The voice of a young man sounded sane. "Attacked a UA high student? Who? What's going on?" Naruto said, startled. "I need you to give me your hoodie," Mirko suddenly said out of the blue. "What? We don't have time. Every second matters. Please give me your hoodie now." Although bewildered by her strange request, her voice was so forceful that he felt compelled to just do what she said and ask questions later. He took off the black and orange hoodie of his hero costume and gave it to her. "Oof, it's so tight," Mirko complained as she struggled to zip up the hoodie after putting it on, all for the sake of covering her nearly exposed breasts. Fortunately, the zipper didn't give out, and she managed, after a few moments of impatient struggle, to close it up. "I'm going after the hero killer. I'm hunting down this bastard once and for all. Are you coming with me?" Mirko said, her face filled with fury and determination. Naruto replied immediately, "Count me in. Okay, hop on my back and hold on tight. Don't let go of me. No matter what, I'm going to run at my full speed, so I won't spare any energy." Any other time he would have been very embarrassed about letting a woman carry him piggyback at his age, but now was not the moment to worry about such trivial things, having already experienced Mirko's extreme speed once. Naruto took her warning to heart, and upon climbing on her back he locked his arms around her neck and his legs around her waist. "Ready?" she asked. "One last time." "Ready," he said, burying his face in the back of her neck to protect himself from the whip-like winds. After her running speed broke the sound barrier, and not a second later a sonic boom exploded and stirred up a dense cloud of dust in the air, obscuring the rabbit hero's silhouette. By the time the cloud of dust dispersed, Mirko and Naruto had long since gone out of sight, the rabbit hero having covered several dozen kilometers in the span of a few seconds. With his face buried in the back of Mirko's neck, Naruto held on for dear life. The landscape became a blur of lights, and the wind pressure was so powerful that he was struggling to breathe. Her speed felt even faster than when she kidnapped him from UA High Stadium. Just staying conscious was difficult. A few minutes later her sprint dropped to a more manageable speed as the skyscrapers of Tokyo appeared in their sight. "Hold on tight," Mirko warned him, and then her thigh muscles almost doubled in size before she jumped in the next moment. Despite the load she was carrying on her back, the rabbit hero jumped so high that Naruto felt as if they were flying half a dozen more jumps. Like these, and eventually Mirko stopped on the roof of a low-rise building. Hop off, she said, and Naruto quickly let himself fall on the rooftop floor while he was gasping for air and trying to get a hold of himself. Mirko jumped off the building and straight down into the alleyway. Goddammit, they're not here, he heard her yelling, and he stood up on his feet with difficulty before coming to the edge of the building. As the building was less than 10 floors tall, Naruto could see perfectly what was below, and the sight made his face stiffen. 3 bodies were lying in a pool of blood. Making use of his fox quirk's dexterity, he jumped down from one windowsill to another until he landed safely on the street. They're dead, she said, and in her anger she almost smashed her telephone against the concrete. She had followed the GPS location she had gotten from the Hero Network app, and she had run as fast as she could, but she was too late. The hero killer escaped from her once again. Had it been another boy or girl his age, they would have most likely retched at the gory sight in front of them, but thanks to the memories of his past life, Naruto managed to keep his composure as he looked at the carved up and mutilated corpses on the ground. Itakuin, he muttered as he recognized one of the dead bodies, his glasses and helmet lying not far away. The boy's eyes were still open and his face twisted in an expression of rage and anguish. Even in death you knew him, Mirko asked. He was my classmate, Naruto said. I won't let him get away, not this time, she said, clenching her fists so hard that the veins on her forearms bulged out. The bodies are still warm, he couldn't have gotten far. Let's split out and search for him. Yes, he said quietly, his eyes unknowingly turning into the red slits of a fox. But before he could jump away, Mirko grabbed him by the arm and said, don't engage him. He's too dangerous. If you find him, send me your location. I will come to you in an instant. Okay. Climbing on the rooftop of the building, Naruto started sprinting and jumping from one building to another in a manner reminiscent of how he used to do it in his past life as a shinobi. What are the chances I'll find the hero killer? Several minutes must have passed from when they died until the moment we arrived in a city as big as this. It was too easy for one person to disappear. Searching for just one person in Tokyo was like searching for a needle in a haystack. However, as he made a large leap over a wide boulevard, his sensitive hearing caught a faint sound of gunshots, his face betraying his surprise. Naruto's 3 foxtails twitched abruptly and his body's position changed in midair before he landed on a light pole. Just a second later he flung himself in the direction from which the gunshots had come a few minutes earlier. Fuck, we're too late, a black-haired boy swore and punched the wall in frustration. Keep your calm, Sasuke, I told you before, no matter what, always keep your emotions in check, a young man said, before turning towards the third member of their team and asking, Kiba, can you track him down? The boy in question flared his nostrils as he walked around the crime scene, searching for a smell different from that of the dead bodies lying in the pool of blood on the ground. I got his scent, follow me, Kiba said, and broke into a sprint. The inhuman speed at which he was running, stirring winds in his wake. Slow down, you idiot, we can't keep up with you, Sasuke shouted after him, but Kiba laughed and said over his shoulder, Gee, first come first served, all the contributions on this mission will be mine. Kiba, their leader, yelled after him too. The hero killer is too dangerous for you to engage him alone. The plan was for you and Sasuke to take him on together. Relax, Kanoto-sensei, you've seen what Uzumaki Naruto was capable of, haven't you? I'm even better than that, he boasted confidently, and then his running speed increased even further, leaving the other two in the dust. Suga, the hero killer, suddenly heard a very loud scream coming from behind, but his honed battle instincts allowed him to duck just in time to see a human drill whirring past him and crashing into the wall of a building. Who the hell are you? Stain said as he unsheathed his sword. You don't need to know, you'll be dead soon anyway, Kiba said, and threw himself at the hero killer, slashing with his clawed hands like a savage beast, seemingly not caring about his own safety. Sparks and a sound like that of metal clashing came out of their collision, and Stain's chipped blade deteriorated even further at the contact with the dog boy's claws. But after getting through Kiba's initial outburst, Stain weaved like a boxer through 2 of his wild claw swings and slashed with his sword upwards. It was only the feral instincts and agility of his dog quirk that allowed Kiba to just barely twist his body and evade Stain's slash by the skin of his teeth. How is he so strong? Kiba was confused. According to the intel his team had received, Stain did not have any physically enhancing abilities. Instead, all the signs pointed towards him having a quirk that allowed him to paralyze or immobilize his targets. How is he dodging and parrying all my attacks? Kiba growled. The more that the fight was prolonged, the angrier and more frustrated he became. In truth, Kiba's strength, speed, agility, reflexes, and instincts were far beyond those of Stain. On paper, his stats should have allowed him to defeat the hero killer handily. However, in real life, as long as the difference in stats was not exaggerated, fighting skill and combat experience were often more important. Stain had been fighting and killing pro heroes for many years now. He had killed 17 pro heroes and crippled another 24. to the point where they had to retire. His experience and combat skills were far beyond those of a 15-year-old boy who had only started training seriously a few months ago. Just drop dead. Suga Kiba screamed and unleashed his super move against the hero killer once again, but his move was too telegraphed and straightforward. Stain easily predicted it and stepped out of his trajectory. "You won't be able to run away from me," Kiba shouted, and was about to throw himself at Stain once more, but he suddenly lost all feeling in his limbs and collapsed on the floor as stiff as a board. When Kiba used his super move against him, Stain not only dodged but he also counterattacked by slashing at the back of the human drill, nicking his calf due to the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Kiba momentarily did not register the pain. "B bastard, what did you do to me?" the dog boy screamed at him. His entire body was paralyzed. The only thing he could do was talk. "I don't go out of my way to kill children, but you're the one who sought me out and attempted to kill me. If you're willing to take someone's life, be prepared for the scenario where you could lose yours too," Stain said, and approached him at a leisurely pace, the chipped blade of his katana dripping with Kiba's red blood. Raising his sword high up, Stain held its handle with both hands as he stabbed down, but at the very last moment a kick smashed into the side of the hero killer's face and threw him away, the tip of his sword missing Kiba's throat by mere inches. "Look at what you did, moron. You ran ahead and nearly got yourself killed," Sasuke said while panting for air. He had run at his top speed, trying to catch up to Kiba in time. Unlike Kiba, who had a superhuman body, Sasuke's physical capabilities were only those of a fit but average boy his age. "What happened to you anyway?" Sasuke asked as he unsheathed the tanto strapped on his back and took a defensive stance in front of Kiba to protect him. Unlike the dog boy, he didn't throw himself at the hero killer, opting instead to wait for their leader's arrival. "I don't know, I think he cut my leg and I was paralyzed after that," Kiba said through gnashed teeth. "This has to be the worst day in the entire year. All of you heroes just keep popping up one after another," Stain said, his voice filled with killing intent as he rubbed at his sore jaw. "No matter whether it's one or two kids, it's all the same." The two Tomo and Sasuke's red eyes started spinning wildly as the hero killer lunged at him. Kiba could only watch helplessly as his teammate fought all alone against Stain, inwardly filled with all sorts of mixed feelings. On one hand, he was relieved he didn't die, and he was glad to see Sasuke was holding his own against the hero killer, but on the other hand, he was frustrated that he had lost so easily and that Sasuke was fighting better than him. Unlike Kiba, who relied on his dog Quirk's athleticism and fought with the simple plan of just overwhelming his opponent with a burst of savage attacks, Sasuke was calm and calculated, predicting and defending against every single one of Stain's moves. His quirk gave him the ability to predict someone's actions based on the subtle movements of their muscles, and he could also copy their moves and perform them perfectly after seeing them just once in a show of fighting skills unusual for someone as young as him. Sasuke was more than holding his own against the older and much more experienced Stain, and he even started to slowly push him back. Sparks came out as Stain's chipped katana clashed against Sasuke's blade, and the boy was forced to take a step back lest he got blown away by the physically stronger man, but he could not afford to get himself locked in a battle of strength with him, so he suddenly disengaged and jumped back, taking out a hidden revolver strapped to his thigh. Sasuke fired all 5 shots in its chamber in quick succession. "Shit," Stain cursed and jumped to the side in desperation. However, he had not been fast enough because he had not expected the sword-wielding kid to suddenly pull out a gun on him, especially with how stringent the gun laws were in Japan. Nevertheless, his dodging attempt had not been completely useless. Out of the 5 bullets Sasuke had fired at Stain's chest, only one found its mark, and it was in a non-vital area in his right bicep. Although Sasuke's revolver was now out of bullets, Stain did not have any illusions about his chances of winning with a bullet in his right arm. He couldn't wield his katana properly anymore, and the dog kid is going to be released from paralysis soon too. Reaching that conclusion, Stain suddenly turned tail and broke into a run. "Great job, Sasuke." Their leader, who had been spectating the battle from the side, came out of his hiding place and said, "Kiba, we will be having some words when we go back to the base. For now, Sasuke, stay here with him and call an ambulance. I'll go after Stain myself." Leaving those words behind, Kanoto broke into a run after the hero killer. When Naruto arrived at the place where the gunshots had come from, he couldn't hide his surprise when he saw the appearance of the 2 boys lying down on the street. "Kiba due to his paralysis, and Sasuke due to exhaustion." "Kiba, is that you?" Naruto asked. Before regaining the memories of his previous life, Naruto and Kiba used to be best friends, but after Naruto enrolled at UA High, he lost all contact with him. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" Kiba asked, his voice showing that he was just as surprised as he was. "I'm in the middle of my internship with Mirko the Rabbit Hero. I heard some gunshots and came to see what happened." TSK Kiba clicked his tongue in annoyance. Of all people, Naruto was the last person he wanted to see while he was in such a Pathetic state, we just fought against the hero killer, our mission is supposed to be secret, you fucking idiot. Sasuke suddenly cut him off and shouted. If Naruto was surprised by Sasuke's unexpectedly vulgar way of speaking, he didn't show it. Hero killer, damn, where is he now? Completely ignoring Sasuke's rebuke, Kiba answered Naruto's question honestly. He escaped through that alley at 9 o'clock, but don't bother chasing him down, our team leader went after him. Thanks a lot, Kiba, Naruto said, and his body appeared to become weightless as he started running upward on the wall, defying gravity for more than 10 meters before jumping out on the wall of the building opposite, thus climbing up on top of the building in a matter of seconds. So you're saying you're stronger than him, huh? Sasuke said snidely as he watched the fox boy's silhouette blur out of sight. You're so full of shit, Kiba. Shut up, asshole. I was stronger than him in middle school, besides we haven't fought now, so we don't know for sure. Who'd win? Kiba shouted, his face flushing in both annoyance and embarrassment at having been caught lacking whatever lets you sleep at night. Just wait until this paralysis is gone. I'll beat the crap out of you, Kiba roared. Yeah, now be quiet, I've gotta call the ambulance to take your bleeding ass to the hospital. Fuck you, I don't swing that way, dog boy, but I wouldn't mind if it was your dear elder sister who told me that. Haha, Sasuke. Even as he ran after the hero killer, the last bits of conversation he caught between Kiba and Sasuke made him snort. Had he not been pressed for time, he would have liked to catch up with Kiba and become acquainted with this world, Sasuke, but pursuing the hero killer was far more important. What did Kiba get himself into? Sasuke said something about them being on a mission. Are they part of another hero course? High school too, but freshmen shouldn't be sent out on missions without a pro hero to supervise them, and they would definitely not be sent after the hero killer. Not everyone is as crazy as Mirko to take kids with them when chasing down an unhinged killer, but he put those thoughts aside and took out his phone. I'm pursuing the hero killer now. I'm also sending you the location along with this voice message as I'm speaking. Stain is in the middle of a fight with a black-haired man wearing a white mask and wielding 2 daggers. Once he was done sending the voice message and his location, Naruto put his phone away and got closer to the battle as Mirko had asked him to. He did not engage the hero killer and waited for her arrival. It was not that he was scared. Based on what he could see from the ongoing battle between Stain and the masked man, Naruto was more than confident that he could beat the living daylights out of someone like Stain, but he wanted to listen to Mirko's orders. Therefore, unless the hero killer somehow turned the situation around, and it looked like the masked person was going to die, he was not going to intervene. Naruto didn't have to wait for long. Merely a few seconds later, a sonic boom made Naruto's fox ears flinch from pain, and all the windows of the cars and buildings in a radius of 60 feet cracked. In the next moment, he was stunned as he watched how Mirko's whirlwind kick smashed into Stain's head with such force that he was decapitated, his skull blowing up like a watermelon in a shower of blood and gore. Holy shit, Naruto muttered in shock. Even the masked man was momentarily stunned. He had been in the middle of an unexpectedly tough battle against the hero killer when an extremely loud sound made him almost lose his sense of hearing. The next thing he knew, his enemy's head exploded in a shower of blood splattering all over his mask and clothes. The even more macabre sight was how even after being decapitated, the hero killer's corpse continued standing straight on its feet, blood gushing out of its severed neck like a geyser, wiping away the blood from her face with the sleeve of the orange hoodie she had borrowed from Naruto. Mirko turned towards the masked individual who had been battling with the hero killer. I'm Mirko, the rabbit hero. Who are you? She asked calmly, as if she had not brutally killed someone just moments ago. Unexpectedly, the man's voice seemed just as steady and collected as hers when he replied, I'm with the Hero Public Safety Commission. I was tasked with chasing down and apprehending the hero killer, he said, showing her the badge attached to the inside of the chest area of his jacket. Nevertheless, despite how calm the masked man seemed to be outward to Mirko's extremely fine sense of hearing, it was as clear as day that his heart was drumming in his chest. I see, she said curtly before taking out her phone and calling the police, but when she looked up from her phone, the masked man was nowhere to be seen. A faint cloud of black smoke was the only thing left in his place. Later that evening, after dealing with all the legal procedures following the use of deadly force by a pro hero in the field, Mirko came into the waiting room at the police station where Naruto was waiting for her. She sat down next to him and for a few seconds nobody said anything. Penny, for your thoughts, Mirko said after a while, her red eyes looking at his face searchingly. You did the right thing, Naruto said easily and shrugged. Was it not too much for your first day in the field? She asked, her voice uncertain. Truthfully, she had not planned on making her first pupil witness that side of her that early into their relationship, but she had been pursuing the hero killer for nearly a year, failing to catch him again and again, always ending up coming to the scene only to see people's carved up bodies lying in a lake of blood on the ground. The hero killer just murdered my classmate. He deserved what he got and more. I would have done the same, he said, his hands clenched into fists. He couldn't understand why would anyone kill a kid. What had Mineta Minoru and Tenya Ida done to deserve such a fate, or what had Eri done to deserve being tortured by her own family? His heart was burning with anger at the injustice of it all, but his train of thought was stopped when he felt Mirko ruffle his hair. "You're a strange kid," she said. "The way I killed Stain wasn't a pretty sight. Most people would go into shock from seeing something as extreme as that. Are you truly not rattled at all?" "I'm fine," Naruto said, and shrugged. "More importantly, are you okay? Aren't you going to get in trouble with the law? Look at you, so cool and collected that you even have the leisure to worry about my well-being," she said teasingly. "Generally, pro-heroes are discouraged from using lethal force against villains, but it's not like it's completely forbidden to kill them." "Wait, that sounded wrong," she said, and put a hand on her chin as she tried to find a better explanation to not make him misunderstand. "Pro-heroes need to apprehend villains while trying their best to avoid killing or maiming them. However, even a fistfight between quirkless people could lead to someone's accidental death, all the more when there are quirks involved. Accidents do happen sometimes." That said, she continued, "The use of lethal force is allowed against the villains in cases of self-defense, or if the villains are directly putting someone's life in danger. For example, in a hostage situation, the pro-heroes would not be prosecuted for using lethal force against the villains in order to rescue the hostages. There are more clauses and laws for special situations, but you will learn more about them in school in your second and third years, when you will be working full-time as a sidekick during the internship. As a rule of thumb, though, lethal force is a last resort." As the two left the police station together, Naruto couldn't help asking once more, just to make sure, "So killing Stain won't get you in trouble?" "Not a chance. My bank account is even going to get a hefty sum of money soon. There was a huge bounty on Stain's head. The hero killer murdered 17 heroes. No, it's 20, with the 3 victims from today, and crippled another 24. He was a vicious serial killer, someone too dangerous to be left alive. That masked man that you saw fighting against the hero killer was in fact tasked to kill Stain by the Hero Public Safety Commission themselves." "The Hero Public Safety Commission, weren't they just a bureaucratic organization that regulated the hero agencies on behalf of the government? Since when are they assassinating people?" The rabbit hero let out a snort at his question on the paper. "Yes, but the HPSC isn't as simple and harmless as the public thinks it is. I won't go into details as there are ears everywhere around us," she said, and gestured to all the passers-by on the street. "But take this advice seriously. As much as possible, avoid interacting directly with them. Find a good hero agency, and don't let yourself get entangled by the HPSC schemes and machinations." "I see." Naruto acknowledged. "Are we going back to Hiroshima now?" She shook her head. "We can't. You have an appointment tomorrow with a therapist." "I have a what now?" "It's standard procedure for all students participating in hero internships to be examined by a psychologist after witnessing someone's death for the first time in the field." "But I told you I'm fine," Naruto said in annoyance. "Hey, don't argue with me," she said, and raised her hands, as if to show it had nothing to do with her. "That's what the rules are. If you don't like them, take it to those old fogies at the HPSC. Anyway, that is tomorrow. For now, I need to buy some clean clothes. All this blood attracts too much attention. We also need to get some dinner and find a hotel room for the night too."